Your main order of business today is taking the labor markets quiz, but first I want to introduce the assignment I've been threatening for a few weeks now, a point-counterpoint essay on the minimum wage. So opening arguments about the minimum wage will be made by Mary Poppins. It's hard to think if Mary Poppins could ever lose an argument, but not everyone agrees with her that the government should raise the minimum wage. Many people, frankly, many economists think it is a bad idea. I'm going to give you the classic microeconomics analysis of minimum wages, graphs and all, and then I'll talk about how you're going to explore both sides of this debate. You saw this graph in my last lecture, and you'll see one like it on your quiz. Barring government intervention, the prevailing wage for jobs requiring a particular set of skills in a particular location at a particular time is determined by supply and demand. If the economy is doing badly, if business is slow and therefore marginal revenue product is dropping, demand for labor decreases and wages and total employment decline. That's a pretty good description of what happened to the U.S. economy from 2009 through 2013. If business picks up and firms are struggling to hire enough workers or to keep the ones they've got from going off to better jobs, then demand for labor increases. Wages go up, and so does employment. And there are a lot of signs that this is happening right now, especially in the lower wage segments of the economy, such as big box retail and fast food jobs. If there is a big influx of workers, say immigration is high, or there's a bigger pool of new graduates than retiring workers, or if discouraged workers re-enter the workforce, then labor supply increases and wages go down. If, by contrast, there is a crackdown on immigration or a big wave of retirements, labor supply decreases and wages go up. You saw questions involving graphs like this on your practice quiz, and you'll see more today. This slide sums up the argument that many economists make against the minimum wage. By the way, I know it's a complicated slide, and I am going to put these PowerPoints up on Moodle. So first note that if the minimum wage is set below the prevailing wage rate, it essentially becomes irrelevant. So right now, Walmart and McDonald's are raising their salaries above the minimum wage. Protesters think they should raise them a lot higher. What the financial newspapers, such as the Wall Street Journal, mostly say about this is that Walmart, McDonald's, and other low-wage employers are being forced to raise their wages above minimum wage because labor markets have tightened. Tightened basically means more demand for labor, and that to get the workers they need, employers need to raise wages. Economists, for the most part, do not think the considerations of social justice motivate these firms, except to the extent that companies like McDonald's or Walmart do fear, to some extent, that consumers will boycott firms that are seen as unfair to employers. Whether that trumps the effect of low prices is harder to say. If the minimum wage is set above the prevailing wage for low-income workers, then, again, according to many economists' analysis, not all, some workers will benefit from higher wages and some workers will lose their jobs. In fact, really, most economists agree about this. What they disagree about is the extent of the impact. The minimum wage, as they see it, as many economists see it, is a classic price floor. If the minimum wage is represented in pink, then all of the workers up to QD will get paid more, so they benefit clearly from the minimum wage. All the workers between QD and QE will lose their jobs. The workers between QE and QS are workers who would now be willing to enter the labor market since wages are higher, but they won't be able to find work. So the distance between QE and QS, in other words, both workers who lose their job and workers who would now like to get jobs, represent the market surplus. Now we come to the point-counterpoint essay. I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining this assignment since I've posted a very detailed assignment sheet which includes your grading rubric. Please note the evidence requirements. Most of you did very well on the Walmart essays, but if you lost points, it was probably because you did not support your arguments with specific evidence. A lot of you attended the minimum wage debate, right? So you've seen this modeled for you. Arguments plus evidence. Oops, excuse me. I went forward too quickly. The third paragraph of this assignment is new. and the major reason it's worth a lot more points than the Walmart essay. I want you to take and defend a side in this debate. Your defense should address and refute the best arguments on the other side. You're welcome to take an intermediate or alternative position. You could argue, for example, in favor of the current minimum wage, but not in favor of a minimum wage increase, or a minimum wage increase as high as the president is proposing. You could argue that $10.10 is much too low, and the minimum wage should be $15. That's the growing demand from labor unions and from protesting employees. You could also argue that some other approach, such as a higher earned income tax credit, makes more sense than a minimum wage. I have actually included an article making this proposal written by Gregory Mankiw, who's the head of the Harvard Economics Department. What you can't do is just cut and paste. Trust me, writing this way will get you into a world of hurt in college. Lots of students get kicked out of college for plagiarism, and cutting and pasting from the internet is plagiarism, even if you just change some of the words. So you're going to be submitting these essays on Turnitin.com, and I have set Turnitin.com to let you see your originality score after you submit your paper. That's the percent that seems to come from other sources. Turnitin.com is also set to allow you to resubmit your paper up until the due date of May 1st. The 25% upper limit includes quoted materials. It does not include bibliographical notes. I want you to cite your sources in a paragraph after your evidence, in a parenthesis after your evidence. Just the URL or a shortened document title is fine. I'm not going to hold you to MLA or APA formats, although I probably should. A few of you failed to turn in a Walmart essay. PowerSchool has the peculiarity that a second zero in the essay category will not affect your grade. So, since I don't like that, if you fail to turn in a second essay, you will get a 0 in the test category. You do not want that to happen. And to anticipate a possible question, I am no longer accepting Walmart essays. You can use the time after today's quiz, if any, and all of next class period to work on this essay. We then turn to our final Unit 3 topic, which is market failure, or reasons why government must sometimes intervene in the economy and how this intervention can be more or less efficient.